Coverage of First Night. All of our guests today are local musicians with big things on the horizon for 2016.
WRAL's Linda Loveland starts us off live in downtown Raleigh with Dr. Lodge McCammon. Hey, Linda.
Hey guys, now our first guest isn't really your traditional musician, and believe me, after talking with him for the last few minutes, he is not traditional at all. We've been having a great time over here. But he is actually an educational musician. Dr. Lodge McCammon, again, thanks for joining us. Now, you're an NC State grad. Go Pack, right?
Go Pack, yeah. Go Pack.
Unfortunate loss the other night, but Go Pack. And you live here in Raleigh. You tour as a keynote speaker. What got you into this whole thing?
Well, what got me into music, well, it happened music first and then education next. I started playing violin when I was 2 years old in a Suzuki music school in Chicago that my mom was the director of. And then my dad had recording studios in Chicago, and so I grew up in a traditional classical music school and then also in the recording studio.
Oh, wow.
So this combination of big musical influences in my life. And then after I graduated from college, I decided I wanted to teach. I love the classroom. I love helping kids. I love watching kids learn. I'm very passionate about that. So connecting those two is a natural fit, and it's a very powerful way to teach
through absolutely.
Music. Yeah.
Well, we have some video of you doing one of your speeches, so let's take a look at him as a keynote speaker.
C3PO, get it!
Very nice. Now, you tell me that you are writing songs about all 50 states. Is that right?
I am. I finished 23 of the 50 states so far, and I'm working on it. I'm calling it the 50 States album, and I'm working on it largely with my parents. So I've pulled them back in, and we're recording this together. Both my parents are also musicians, so we're working on this 50 States project together.
Fantastic. And you've got one from North Carolina?
I have finished the North Carolina song. Of course, it's one of the first states I did.
Excellent. Yeah. Can we hear it?
You bet.
Okay.
It's called the Old North State. Settled by Spain, then of the original 13 parts of Carolina chartered to serve Raleigh, a Confederate holdout, and the last to secede, forced to pick a side and count the men who died when Lincoln points southeast. The Old North State in a southern way. We were the older Carolina during the split back in the day after Sir Walter Raleigh's lost colony fades. North Carolina was made the 12th Tar Heel state. Then we grabbed the Wright brothers and were first to fly away. The popular Piedmont Mountains and coastal plains, home of the Outer Banks off Hatteras, 1,000 ships remain. This graveyard of the Atlantic holds Blackbeard's fame. Then go west to climb Black Mountain's highest eastern range. The Old North State in a southern way. We were the older Carolina during the split back in the day after Sir Walter Raleigh's lost colony fades. North Carolina was made the 12th Tar Heel state. Then we grabbed the Wright brothers and were first to fly away. To be rather than to seem, all the long-leaf pine and the dogwood enhance our topography, and the cardinal heads to Mount Mitchell, our highest peak. Essequan with Deary. Old tobacco and cotton defined the economy. Later tourism shows beaches and some mountains to ski. RTPs stem into 3s and 3 big universities, along with Charlotte's banking in the 1990s. The Old North State in a southern way. We were the older Carolina during the split back in the day after Sir Walter Raleigh's lost colony fades. North Carolina was made the 12th Tar Heel state. Then we grabbed the Wright brothers and were first to fly away.
All right, very nice.
First to fly away.
Very nice, everyone. Yeah, I like that. Now, if people want some more information about your music, where should they go?
You can go to lodgemccammon.com.
Well, that's easy enough. Dr. Lodge McCammon, thank you so much for being with us, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, all right, fantastic. We're having more great guests, more musicians to look for in 2016. That's coming up in our next half hour on WRAL.
All right, Linda.
Off to a great start.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda.